The lawyer cleared his throat and read aloud. To our daughter Madeline, we leave nothing. My brother Ethan smirked across the mahogany table. My hand started shaking, but that wasn't even the worst part. My name is Madeline. I'm 26 years old. And 2 weeks before that moment, I'd been sitting at my father's hospital bedside while he took his last breath. I'm a freelance graphic designer. I make a modest income. Nothing flashy. I paid my own way through college while my younger brother Ethan, 22 and never held a real job in his life, got his tuition handed to him on a silver platter. My parents were country club types, the kind who cared more about what people thought than what people felt. They wanted kids they could show off at dinner parties. Kids with glamorous careers and expensive cars. I wasn't that. I was practical. Quiet. The one who showed up when things got hard. Ethan was the one who posted vacation photos while I sat in sterile hospital rooms. I wasn't their perfect trophy child, but I had something they never gave me credit for: grit. For the last 6 months of my father's life, I was there. Every single day, watching him fade, listening to his stories, holding his hand when the pain got bad. Ethan visited twice. If you've ever been pushed aside by family, subscribe right now and tell me where you're watching from. Because what happened next taught me that blood doesn't always mean loyalty. The lawyer's office smelled like old books and lemon polish. My mother sat beside Ethan, her pearls perfectly arranged. My aunts and uncles filled the other chairs. My cousin Sarah stared at her hands. The lawyer kept reading. The family home, all savings and the design business go entirely to our son Ethan. I felt my throat tighten. Wait, I said. That's it? I get nothing? My mother didn't even look at me. Your brother needs support, Madeline. You've always been independent. Independent. That's what you call someone when you want to justify abandoning them. I'm being cut out completely? My voice cracked. After everything? You'll be fine, she said, ice in every word. You always are. Ethan leaned back in his chair. Maybe if you'd visited Dad more, he said, he would have remembered you existed. The room went silent. I stared at him. This kid who showed up to the hospital twice, once for 10 minutes because he had brunch plans, was erasing me. My uncle coughed. My aunt shifted in her seat. Nobody said a word. The lawyer looked at me with something like pity, but he said nothing. I stood up. I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I just walked out. I sat in my car in the parking lot, hands gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles went white. They'd erased me, like I'd never mattered at all, but it got worse. A week later, my cousin Sarah called. Hey, I thought you should know. Your mom's planning the memorial service. Okay, I said. When is it? There was a pause. You're not listed in the program, Maddie. Not as immediate family. My stomach dropped. What? I saw the draft. It just says your mom and Ethan. You're mentioned at the bottom under other family. I called my mother immediately. Why am I not in the memorial program? Ethan is handling everything, she said, like that explained it. Don't make this about you. She hung up. I stared at my phone. They weren't just taking the money. They were rewriting history. The memorial service was held at the country club. Soft music, white flowers, people in dark suits whispering politely. I sat in the back row. My mother stood at the podium and dabbed her eyes with a tissue. I'm so grateful for my son Ethan, she said, voice breaking. My only real support through this terrible time. My chest tightened. And our daughter, who lives across town. That was it. One sentence. Ethan got up next. He talked about late nights at the hospital and being there when it mattered most. He was there twice. I was there. Every single night. A family friend in the third row started to say something. Wait, wasn't Madeline the one who... Someone shushed her. I sat there, invisible. When it ended, people hugged my mother. They shook Ethan's hand. A few nodded at me politely like I was a distant relative they barely knew. I walked to my car alone. A week after the memorial, my mother called. "We need a favor," she said. "No hello. No how are you." "What?" "Ethan's overwhelmed with the business. We need you to design some marketing materials." I blinked. "You want me to work for you?" "For free, of course. Your family." There it was. They didn't want me at the table, but they wanted my labor. "I'll think about it," I said. Her voice turned cold. "After everything we've done for you, Madeline." I hung up. An hour later, Ethan texted me. "Stop being selfish. It's the least you can do." I stared at that message for a long time. Then I stopped answering their calls. I started keeping a folder. Every text, every request, every insult. And I reached out to someone I hadn't talked to in months. James. My father's business partner. What they didn't know was that Dad and I had talked. A lot. During those 6 months while Ethan was traveling, Dad told me things. About the business, about clients, about design philosophy and the industry secrets he'd spent 30 years learning. He introduced me to people, key contacts, vendors, collaborators. He mentioned more than once that Ethan had no real interest in the work. "He doesn't ask questions," Dad said one night, his voice weak. "You do." Dad didn't leave me money, but he left me something better. Knowledge. I had notebooks full of it. Client notes, project ideas. His advice on everything from pricing to people management. James had been Dad's best friend for 3 decades, and I'd been quietly building my own client list on the side for months. They thought they inherited his legacy. They got his assets. I got his wisdom. And I was 3 weeks away from launching something they'd never see coming. James called me 2 days after my mother showed up at my apartment demanding I help Ethan. "I heard what happened at the memorial," he said. "That wasn't right, Madeline. Your dad would have hated that." I didn't know what to say. "I'm retiring," he continued, "and I want to offer you my client list." I almost dropped the phone. "What?" "Your dad talked about you constantly. He said you had the real eye, the real heart for this work." James paused. "He wanted you to take over someday, not Ethan." "Why didn't he put that in the will?" "I don't know. Maybe he thought he had more time. Maybe your mother influenced him at the end. But I know what he wanted." James offered to mentor me, to help me launch my own firm. I said yes. Meanwhile, my family's arrogance kept growing. Ethan lost 2 clients in the first month. Both of them called me privately and asked if I was available for freelance work. I was. My mother called again, more desperate this time. "We need your help. Ethan's overwhelmed." Still no apology, just entitlement. My cousin told me she overheard my mother at a luncheon, complaining that Madeline's being vindictive and petty. Ethan posted on social media, "Family should help family, but some people are too jealous to see past themselves." I didn't respond. Then my mother showed up at my apartment unannounced. She didn't knock. She pounded. "You're letting your brother fail out of spite," she said the second I opened the door. I looked at her calmly. "No," I said. "I'm letting him learn what I always had to, how to survive on his own." I closed the door in her face. That was my breaking point. 3 months after the will reading, I called my mother. "I want to meet. You, me, and Ethan." She sounded relieved, maybe even smug. "Finally. I knew you'd come around." I arrived at her house with a leather portfolio. And James. My mother opened the door and saw him. Her face tightened. What's he doing here? He's with me, I said. Ethan was already sitting in the living room, arms crossed. My mother sat down, smoothing her skirt. Did you bring the designs for... I cut her off. I'm not here to save Ethan. I'm here to tell you I don't need saving either. I opened my portfolio. This is my LLC, registered 3 weeks ago, launched last Tuesday. I slid a folder across the table. These are signed contracts with 3 of Dad's biggest former clients. Ethan grabbed the folder and flipped through it. His face went red. You stole Dad's clients. James stepped forward. Actually, they left your company after you botched their projects. They came to Madeline. I laid out another contract. This is for a major rebranding campaign. Local nonprofit. 6-month project. The budget alone is more than you've made in the last 6 months, Ethan. My mother's face went pale. Why didn't you tell us you were doing this? I looked at her. The same reason you didn't think I deserved Dad's legacy. You never thought to ask. I reached into my bag and pulled out a stack of letters. My father's handwriting. I read one aloud. You remind me of who I was when I started. Hungry, honest, real. I'm so proud of you, Maddie. My mother's eyes filled with tears. Ethan stared at the floor. You gave Ethan the business, I said quietly. Dad gave me something better. He believed in me. My mother's voice wavered. We thought we were helping him. No, I said. You thought I didn't matter. And I spent my whole life trying to prove you wrong. I stood up. Ethan looked up, desperate. So that's it? You're just done with us? I picked up my portfolio. I'm done needing you to see my worth. That's not the same thing. I walked to the door. It closed softly behind me. 6 months later, my firm was featured in a local magazine. 30 under 30, designers to watch. My mother mailed me the article with a short handwritten note tucked inside. Your father would be so proud. I'm sorry I couldn't see it sooner. I didn't reply right away, but I kept the note in my desk drawer. Ethan eventually sold the business at a loss and took a regular job at a marketing agency. I didn't feel satisfaction in his failure, just quiet relief in my own freedom. I went to my cousin Sarah's wedding a few months later. My mother introduced me to someone as my daughter. She owns her own firm. I smiled politely, but I felt nothing. No anger, no need for validation. Now I sit in my own office. My father's photo is on the desk beside my design awards. For once, their approval didn't define me, because I'd already defined myself. I didn't inherit his business. I inherited his spirit. And that's worth more than anything written in a will. If you've ever had to build your own legacy after your family let you down, hit subscribe. Tell me in the comments, have you ever been underestimated by the people who were supposed to believe in you most? Where are you watching from? I read every single one of your stories. Sometimes the best inheritance isn't what you're given, it's what you create yourself. Thanks for being here. I'll see you in the next one.